The idea of writing a full album in a year that's of quality for me just seems impossibly hard. I suppose I've never actually tried that, but it's just, I don't know. I just can't. I don't know. I wish I was different, and I wish that I could do that.
This is Champagne is Also a Band podcast. One songwriter, one song. I'm Sven, your host for a journey into the music of Champaign-Urbana. Recorded in the Blue Box studio with a songwriter from the Champaign-Urbana music scene, past or present. Champagne is Also a Band podcast is proud to be a part of the Champagne Showers Podcast Network. Welcome to Champagne is Also a Band podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking with Kyle Lang, and you may know Kyle from such bands as Pontow, Well-Read Devils, Nunpuncher, Easter, Adult Books, The Tyrants, Need, and Special Death. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Today we're going to be listening to his song, Remember, off of the upcoming EP, the self-titled EP from Special Death. That EP is being released on March 26th of this year, 2021. Without further ado, let's listen to the song.
Monumental. They say the blacker the fonder. I blacked out the fonder. The older, the wisest. The poor like a guy's a leak. Like a safe broke. I peeked in my teens. I saw underneath. Closed off. I've grown out of reach. I growl off the leash. Ran out. Put down. Finished capiche. I look in the mirror. My youth disappearing. So I just wipe off the tears.
I grew up playing outside. The Chi-Town South Side. Carefree and free of a stressed mind. Malleable brain. So much power on the left side. I just miss the joys of the West Slide. Water park. Spent time. Grew up 13 sizes and now my shoes stuck. Adulthood hot and sticky like a glue gun. I used to run for hours and hours. Now I lack the proper power for for a push-up. I want push pops and gumdrops.
So my first and favorite question to always ask is, what came first, the lyrics or the music?
So with this song, I think it was definitely the music. I remember writing this guitar part. I think I was in high school at the time. And there was sort of just like a melody, a vocal melody that I had in my head with it. And I specifically remember recording it to an 8-track, the guitar, some drums, and then just sort of doing, nonsense syllables or something over the guitar and drums, but singing the melody. I knew what I wanted the melody to be, but I wasn't sure what the words would be. The way it always is I'll get, a line or two, and then I have to sort of fill in the song from there. And oftentimes it's problematic because I'll get, again, a line or two that I want to start with, and I don't know what else to fill in the rest of the song with, what else I want to write about, or, I don't know how to connect things all together. But this one came together after, again, started writing this in high school, and it finally is coming out now over 10 years later. It's a long process.
This song is definitely kind of the coming of age, growing and moving on beyond the things that we remembered and held on to. So it's interesting to me that the music you wrote in high school, and then it's just finally kind of coming to fruition now. Mm-hmm. When did you kind of decide that you were going to take this and kind of flesh it out, after 10 years? How did that come about?
Well, it was always, a little guitar line that I had floating around. And I mean, I have so many, in my head at any given time, just little pieces of songs that, well, I'll do something with that later. I'll flesh it out, like you said, and turn it into a full song. If I were to complete all the songs that I started, I would have so much material. But I just, like I was saying with the lyrics, I never know. It's so hard for me to figure out how to fill in the blanks once I get the start of an idea, whether it be lyrically or musically. I find if I rush it, I'm not happy with it. So I just kind of have to let it grow in its own way over the course of time.
Does your music exist in this fragmented piece here, piece there, and then...
Yes.
And then just something, this codifying event happens? I mean, there's this moment where you're like, I have to pin this down, or what happened here that brought this to a point that it came together?
I don't know. It was just, again, a matter of time passing and thinking, well, this thing works, this thing doesn't work. And yeah, I think that so much of my music is... or the way that I write music, it's little fragments, just little tiny ideas that I end up, sort of piecing together into a full song. It takes me a long time. I don't know how some people are able to do it, writing full albums. And the idea of writing a full album in a year that's of quality for me just seems impossibly hard. I suppose I've never actually tried that, but it's just, I don't know. I just can't. I don't know. I wish I was different, and I wish that I could do that, but it's just tough. I suppose I've never sat down to try to do it, but I just get caught up on specifics way too easily, and it really holds me up. So I think just letting it develop naturally over time is the only thing that works for me.
Well, and you got to go with what works, and it seems like this is a method that has paid off for you. I don't know. Is that even a good... I don't know. I don't want to say it that way, but I mean...
I don't know if it has paid off for me. I put out so little music in the past, 10 years. It's just kind of little dropping crumbs here and there every now and then.
But you don't necessarily look back and say, oh, that was a real stinker, do you? You know the things that you've created, and you like the things that you've created.
For the most part, yeah.
You've had the music for about 10 years, and then you started forming it together. When did you bring this to Molly to, or did you already have it completed and you said, you sing these parts, or does she come up with her?
I wrote it and I had it completed for a while. And, in Special Def, she sang on that song. Julia Steiner from Ratboys, she sang on the last record, and she sings on one or, a couple of songs on this EP that's coming out. It's not like I write the parts specific for anyone in mind. It's just, okay, I think that, Julia's voice would be good on this song, or Molly's voice would be good on this one, that sort of thing. Aside from, of course, NNAMDÍ and Johnny, aka ThrashKitten, I obviously didn't write their verses. They wrote them themselves, but any other vocal parts I've written, and guitar and etc.
Okay.
Dave plays a solo on the album that he came up with, but yeah, pretty much everything comes just from my thinking about it over and over and again for years, and then.
And that's Dave from Ratboys, right?
Ratboys, yeah. So both Julia and Dave, they're sort of the main songwriters in Ratboys. They both play on the EP that's coming out.
At what point did you say that this song needed a feature? How did that collaboration come about?
I think I just decided, well, there's not anything else that I want to do with this in a melodic vocal way. After the first verse, I think that verse is just fine and dandy as it is. It starts with the single part and then ends up in harmony. I don't know what the second verse would be. I think that did, again, just kind of did what it needed to do as far as singing and harmonizing. And the beat and the repetitive nature of both the guitar and the bass line, I think that it works well as something that could be rapped to. Then I'm friends with NNAMDÍ and Johnny, and I've done music with them for a long time. I've been on 2 or 3 of NNAMDÍ's songs over time, and Johnny and I have been doing music together since high school, just here and there, little songs and things. And I just think they're both very talented. So I decided, they'd be great to fill in that second half of the song.
One of the things that I like about this song, and that I think gets captured, you mentioned it yourself, kind of that repetitive nature that is going through the bass of the song, is I feel like it hits me as like this flowing river that just keeps going and going, and kind of like, yes, in some ways it kind of passes you by, and it kind of works as its own kind of metaphor for life itself, and kind of, and I guess part of the reason I'm saying that is that I kind of wanted to dig into some of the words that you wrote here. That first line, that hope I remember the way I was forever, so even when I'm older, my open heart's not colder. Is that like the first line that you started writing in this, or did you kind of come back to that?
No, I think that was the first. It's so hard to remember, but I do think that was how I started it. But again, this song has been kicking around for quite a long time, and there were some lyrics, so it's hard to remember. But I do think that is the first little bit. From there, I decided, okay, well, I think this song is about hoping to keep a part of your, youth in you forever.
Throughout this song, in your verse, it's about I and me, but the only time that you actually mention another pronoun or another person is I want to know how you go away from me so easily. Now, I'm curious, are you meaning a person, or are you talking about life and process itself?
No, absolutely personifying portions of myself. Anyone's self kind of drifting away. You're making me think about it in a way that I haven't thought about it, but that is certainly what I meant.
Did you give NNAMDÍ and did you say Johnny was his name?
Johnny, yes.
Johnny, a.k.a. ThrashKitten.
ThrashKitten.
So did you give them any direction about where you wanted to go, or did you just say like, okay, this is the song?
Sure. I think that I said it's a song about, just wanting to keep some part of your youth with you. And I may have given them my lyrics for mine and Molly's part. I can't really remember, but essentially it was just, that's what this song is about, is hoping to remember, wink, wink, the good golden wonder years, that the way that you were and the way things were, and hoping that, again, that part, some glimmer of that is always with you.
This song was released as a single from the EP. There's 4 other songs. Is there also a song, since this is looking back and remembering, trying to look back to the good old days, are there some songs that are looking forward to other days, kind of as a companion piece to this?
Well, thinking about it now, I think pretty much every song is about looking back, actually. Now that I never even realized that, this is what I was writing about, but I haven't written any songs, at least on this release, about, looking forward.
If you're looking back, what would you like to kind of remember and hold on to looking forward? Just
that it is possible to have happiness and comfort that sticks around for more than a day at a time. I feel like the happy times of my youth kind of stuck around much longer than the happy times that I have now. I don't know why that is. It is possible. So that's what I'm hoping to keep in my mind while I move forward in life.
Did you think about how releasing this during a time that there's less of a sense of looking forward and more of a sense of looking back on the good old days? Like, this is kind of the perfect time to be releasing this of a song, of looking back and holding on to the good things.
No, that's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that, but I suppose a lot of people right now are wishing, I wish things would go back to the way that they were, even, just over a year ago. So I suppose it serves just as much as how people are feeling in this moment as someone might feel just growing up, right? Yeah. This moment in time and in history.
This is a self-recorded project, is that correct?
I actually didn't record this. It was recorded by my friend Marty. He lives with 3 of the members of Ratboys. Julia sang, Sean Neumann, who plays in Ratboys and plays in his own project, Jupiter Styles. He did some singing just a little bit. At the end, there's like a harmony and he sang on this song. We just recorded, because we did it just piece by piece and took long breaks. Just recorded in their basement and in his rec room that he has at their house. I don't know if you could call it a rec room, but something like that. Where he has his computer and some recording things in a closet. We sang all the vocals and he played the bass on the album. Well, I wasn't there. It was just a nice way to get it completed. And he's a bassist, so I felt good, having him play it. And he has a good ear for quality.
So do you have a favorite part of this song?
I really do like the harmonies that I wrote for Molly and myself. And I also really like the bridge at the end after the verses, the rap verses, that ascending bridge. It's really just it chords up the G major scale. I like the way all those things sound, yeah.
COVID-19 got you down? You looking for some music? Some video games? Well, Exile on Main Street still has all the things you need. New and used LPs, CDs, and video games. Exile on Main Street still has something for any music enthusiast and old-school gaming devotee. Exile on Main Street is taking orders, making deliveries, and pickups by appointment. They can find just about any music or video game you need. Check out their website, ExileMainStreet.com, for links to their Discogs page for new additions. You can also contact them via Facebook Messenger to see what they can find for you. They can also be reached on Instagram, Twitter, email, or phone at 217-398-MAIN. That's 217-398-6246. Welcome back. So, Kyle, do you have a favorite Champaign-Urbana music venue from when you were here in Champaign-Urbana?
Favorite venue? I was much more involved in house shows than I was, legitimate venues. A house is a legitimate venue, absolutely, especially in a scene like Champaign-Urbana, or at least the way it was at the time. I'm not certain how it is now with coronavirus. I would hope there aren't really house shows going on at this point, cramped basements and things like that. But I really did love, there was a house in Champaign. It started off as Terror House, I think, and then it became Error House. and then it became Dan Aykroyd's house. That was the first house venue that I went to, show space in a basement, and I made, friends there. My friends, Aaron Schultz, who does Rat King Records, who's releasing the Special Death EP, and then my friend John Menchaca, who I met him there too, who has played in many Champagne bands. He played in Need and Adult Books, which you mentioned. Michael was in Adult Books as well. He and Aaron was in both those bands as well, but I really liked that place. It was funny. They had a lot of shows that very few people would go to, but, we would always go and just, see whoever was playing. It seemed like they would just be down to help anyone out that was playing in town. I also liked John once he moved into a house in, I think it was Urbana. He and Michael and Brian Galecki, who's from Springfield, he owns Dumb Records there, and he played in Easter quite a bit. They had a house in Urbana, like I said. Anyway, they had a house in Urbana, and there were lots of great shows there. That's where I was most of the time for shows, those two houses, I think.
Can you tell me a little bit about a favorite show that you saw at one of these venues?
Yes, I can. There were two shows that I remember absolutely loving. Well, okay, I can say three and I'll go through them really quickly because, But the first show that I went to was Weekend Nachos at Terror House in Champaign. It's where I met John and basically met Michael. I went there with him. He lived in my dorm. That was just an absolutely insane show. Just the wildest, most cramped, moshing insanity. That was a great show. I loved this band called Wabeano Rock Farm, but they're just from some small town somewhere. John, somehow he got them to come all this way and play it at his house, and everyone just went insane for them. They're just this strange rock band with these goofy noises and like the kookiest vocals. That was a great show. And then also, anytime that Sweettooth, which was another hardcore band from Belleville, right by St. Louis, they played at John's house as well. Anyway, that was a really, really great show.
So when you were in the band Easter, you were Easter. Mm-hmm. Your project Easter is getting a reissue on Beloved Records. After 10 years, were you approached by Beloved Records or how did that happen?
So I got contacted by Cameron, who does Beloved Records, with some other friends of his, and he asked me if I wanted to do a reissue, like you said, a demonstration on vinyl for the 10-year anniversary. Cameron was a part of the South Suburban music scene where NNAMDJI's house was, where he did, his shows, and Easter played, 2 or 3 times, and we had this thing called the Big Show there, which was a summer little day-long concert with all the bands from around. He reached out, and he's starting this label, and they wanted to have Demonstration as their first release, the reissue of Demonstration, and it just happened to be right around the 10-year point from that being released. So I think he figured that would be a great kickoff for his label. And of course I agreed because, I wanted to do something.
Yeah.
That project was so important to me and added so much fun and excitement, I guess, to my life. And really, I don't know, it was a great time.
You said that project was very important to you. Why was that project so particularly special to you?
I don't know if it came about for any particular reason. That was just, I made music in high school under the name Pontow and in a band, Well Red Devils, with my best friends, Drew Erickson and Pat Lane. When I was in Champaign, living in Urbana, actually, I suppose, at the time that it came out in Urbana, that just happened to be, my next musical release was Easter. Some of those songs, like I was saying earlier, it takes me a long time to complete and feel happy with a song. 1 or 2 of the songs on there were born out of ideas that I had, again, that I, as early as high school, that just never came fully to fruition, or, just got re-recorded, sort of rewritten, parts added and things like that. But that was basically just a dorm room project, and I recorded all the drums and things over winter break from school when I was back in Oak Forest, Illinois, where I'm from. Just at my grandparents' house, recorded the drums and a good bit of guitar, and then, finished the parts that I was able to do in my dorm when I was back at school. And then essentially the night that it was done, I released it, just kind of put it on my computer, did my basic ass version of mastering and, putting it all together, and then released it and put it on CDRs and started handing it out.
Would you say this was the first project that you did start to finish all by yourself?
Project, I would say yes, because before that, when I was in high school, I had released a number of songs, on my own or in bands with friends, but there was never a complete release at any point that I remember. So yes, I would say that was the first quote project.
So folks can look forward to the reissue on vinyl of your Easter Project demonstration on April 16th of 2021. And I'll provide a link in the show notes to get to the pre-sale for the vinyl. Because we're in the middle of a pandemic, this has been difficult for live shows, for having a scene where people can see live music. And so I've been kind of ruminating or thinking about this one question that I like to ask my guests is, what to you makes a really good, healthy scene? Good things about it, bad things about it, but what makes a good scene?
I lived in a house that put on shows called Garfield's Garden, but I had basically no part in it. It was all my friend and label owner, Aaron Schultz, again, who does Rat King Records. In my experience, what makes a good scene is... I don't know. I don't really have an answer to that. I don't know what a good scene is. I can say that I think it's important to have shows be all ages. I did appreciate when shows were drug and alcohol free, because then it wasn't just a shitty party with things breaking and loud music playing. It was people were legitimately there to see the bands playing. And I think that when that is the situation, people are going to be more supportive of the bands, both in giving their attention and in, buying things and supporting them financially. Because, when bands are touring through, that is needed, and when it's just like a party and there's just bands playing, it can get messy and bad shit can go down. Not that I really saw so much of that, but there were one or two shows that it was like, man, this is a hellhole, and everyone is just drunk and it's a mess. The Dude Ranch was my friend John's house in Urbana, and that was a drug and alcohol-free venue, and they did great shows. And again, people were there, to see the bands, and people really enjoyed it, and I really appreciated that.
Even in the midst of the current coronavirus pandemic, the Jubilee Cafe is continuing to serve packaged, home-cooked meals free to all every Monday evening, 5 to 6:30 p.m. Meals are available for pickup outside the 6th Street door to the Community United Church of Christ in Champaign, Illinois, 805 South 6th Street. Jubilee Cafe's mission remains the same. Feed hungry people by cooking healthy and delicious meals. We are open to anyone who cares to receive a meal. For information on the meal or how to volunteer, go to the Jubilee Cafe CUCC Facebook page or email us at jubilee.cafe@community-ucc.org. Welcome back. So, Kyle, what is your favorite non-musical thing?
I thought about it when you first asked me, and I didn't know. And I really think that my favorite non-musical thing, if I can be so broad, is just the relationships that I have with my family and my close friends. Family, I have a very close relationship with my mom. She had me young. We grew up in my grandparents' house, and my grandpa, he's still alive. I'm very close with him, and I'm so grateful for just him and every way that he supported us. And my mom has 2 kids, Ryan and Katie. I was 16 when Ryan was born, 19 when Katie was born. I'm a much older brother. And it was an interesting role to have when they were growing up, because obviously I wasn't like a parent or anything close to that. I did care for them in ways and have a much older brother relationship where I was, hopefully, some sort of a good influence on them, or, it's just been very fulfilling to see them grow up and become, individual people. They're now 13 and 10. And so I love my family very much, and just my friends too. I feel like the friendships that I have are very deep and meaningful, and I could start naming people off, but my friends know who they are and how important they are to me, especially, after I went through cancer. It just makes you really appreciate the people that you have in life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my partner too, obviously. I love her very much. Our relationship has brought a lot of, comfort and stability into my life, which I really appreciate.
I hate to jump back like a little bit, but you mentioned your grandfather. Is that your grandfather in the video that you're singing into the spoon and he's watching golf?
Yes. That's very much what he did a lot while I was growing up. But yeah, that was my childhood home. My grandparents' house where I grew up. And I thought that was, in a song looking back to childhood, what a better, I spent so much time in that house growing up and have so many memories of being a kid there and an adolescent. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that was caught on tape. And it is funny that he's watching golf, because that's very much what I saw him doing so much as I was growing up.
I like that video a lot. You can get the sense that there was at least a certain level of social distancing going on. But
yes,
I do feel like, in order to create the video, but I still feel like each person in there got to have their own sense of childhood or the things that they cared about.
Yeah, so it was cool to get, just shots of the town where I grew up and my childhood home and my grandpa and his dog.
Kyle, thank you so much for being on the show and talking about your song Remember from your upcoming EP, Special Death. Tell me a little bit about the Dude Ranch and Garfield's Garden and the Champaign-Urbana music scene and your upcoming reissue of the EP Demonstration. I'm looking forward to seeing that on vinyl, because I think it's going to be, I think it's even on white vinyl, right? Or clear or something?
Yes, it is, because the CDs that I originally put out were white. They were kind enough to put it on white vinyl for me, because I thought that was appropriate.
I just really appreciate you taking the time and just chatting with me about all these things. And I really look forward to hearing the full released self-titled Special Death EP coming up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really nice to speak with you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Champaign is Also a Band podcast. This is Kyle Lang reminding you, great music is out there. Go find it where you live.
You almost have an NPR voice. It's so good.
Studio, South Peter, on the inside.